Hello. In Malaysia, a shocking case once captured national attention. A 28-year-old woman, an information analyst and a black belt in Taekwondo, mysteriously disappeared after attending a dinner party one evening. As the investigation went deeper, the mystery slowly unfolded. But the truth that came to light left many people horrified. The incident happened in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia's largest city and one of its two capitals. With a population of around 2 million, it's a major cultural and economic hub. The central figure in this story was Kenny Ong, also known as Wong Lap Kuan. For simplicity, we'll refer to her as Kuan. She was born in Malaysia and was of mixed Chinese and Indian descent. Her father, Wong Mei Chung, was a middle school principal, while her mother, Pearlie, was an Indian Malaysian and a teacher. Kuan was seen by her family and friends as beautiful and successful. She was polite, kind, and respectful. Someone who cared deeply for her family. Beyond her looks, she was very athletic, especially passionate about Taekwondo. She had earned a black belt, which is the highest rank in that martial art, and though she was skilled in sports, she was just as strong academically. After finishing high school with honors, Kuan left Malaysia to study information technology at the University of California in the US. There, she became a top IT analyst after graduating. While working in the US, she met a man named Wong Lap Kuan, a handsome Chinese American. They made a beautiful couple, and many people admired them. Eventually, they got married and built a happy life together with good incomes and a bright future. Then came heartbreaking news. Her father was diagnosed with cancer. Fortunately, doctors caught it early, and the chances of recovery were high. Once Kuan learned her father needed a high-risk surgery, she dropped everything and returned to Malaysia to take care of him. To Kuan, family meant everything. She flew back and devoted herself to caring for her father at the hospital. The surgery was successful, and he began to recover well. After more than 10 days of care, she felt relieved. Her father's condition had improved a lot, and she began preparing to return to work in the US. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Her family decided to throw a farewell dinner for her before she left Malaysia. But no one could have imagined the tragedy that would follow after that dinner. So what happened to Kuan that night? Let's rewind to the day before she was supposed to fly back. Kuan's family organized a farewell dinner for her, inviting only close family members and a few of her close friends. The dinner was held at a restaurant inside the Bangsar shopping center. At around 8 p.m., Kuan drove her mother to the restaurant. The underground parking lot at the mall was quite dark and deserted at that time because the lights weren't working. Since they were running late, the two quickly parked and hurried upstairs. Along the way, Kuan suddenly remembered she had left the parking ticket in the car. In Malaysia, most parking lots use a ticket system where you collect a ticket at the entrance, then pay for parking at a separate payment machine, usually not located at the exit. That means you need to carry your ticket with you at all times. She told her mother not to worry. She grabbed the ticket after dinner. When the two arrived at the restaurant, the other guests were already there. Everyone enjoyed the evening together with smiles and laughter. Wong Kuan seemed to have endless conversations with friends she hadn't seen in years. Around 10 p.m., although she wanted to stay longer and enjoy the evening with them, she noticed that her mother was getting tired. So she decided to take her mother home first and then return to the party later. Kuan left the restaurant with her mother and younger sister. While they were standing in line at the parking payment kiosk, she suddenly realized that she had left the parking ticket in the car. After asking her mother and sister to wait, she quickly took the elevator down to the parking garage. The distance from the kiosk to the parking area wasn't far, but after 20 minutes passed and she still hadn't returned, her mother and sister started to worry. They called her, but she didn't answer. Getting more anxious, they decided to go down to the parking garage themselves. That's when they made a shocking discovery. Her car was gone, and so was she. They rushed back to the restaurant to report what had happened. They called her phone repeatedly, but still got no answer. Eventually, the phone was turned off completely. Remembering that the parking garage had surveillance cameras, they ran back down and asked the security guards to review the footage. According to policy, surveillance footage could only be reviewed after midnight. But after much pleading from the family, the security staff agreed to let them see the video. What they saw on the screen left everyone in shock. At 10:16 p.m., while Kuan was fumbling around looking for her parking ticket, an unknown man suddenly approached from behind and strangled her. Even though Kuan had a black belt in Taekwondo, her skills were more suited for sports than real combat. She fought back fiercely, but the man punched her multiple times in the stomach and chest, leaving her temporarily paralyzed. He then dragged her into her own car and drove away. The car sped through the parking lot and smashed through the barrier gate. Unfortunately, the lighting was poor, so the security camera couldn't capture the attacker's face clearly. After watching the footage and realizing their daughter had been kidnapped, Kuan's mother, Polly, called the police immediately. But instead of just waiting, the family got in their car and drove all around the city of Kuala Lumpur trying to find her. By 4 a.m., after hours of searching with no results, her mother and sister were exhausted and returned home. They had spent the entire night looking for Kuan, and now they could only rely on the police. For 2 days straight, neither the police nor Kuan's family had any leads. Desperate for help, the family turned to the media to spread the news. They released missing person announcements and offered a reward of 10,000 ringgit. The case quickly drew national attention. The public's intense reaction put a lot of pressure on the Malaysian police. Eventually, a patrol officer reported spotting a car with a matching license plate near an abandoned construction site. Police rushed to the scene and were horrified by what they found. The front of the car was damaged, likely from crashing into a parking barrier the night before. One of the front tires was also torn apart, suggesting the car had hit something while speeding, causing the tire to burst. What was most terrifying was the large amount of blood found on the back seat. Police also found evidence of semen in the car, suggesting Kuan had been raped and seriously injured there. Despite searching the area, police didn't find any more clues. They decided to call Kuan's phone again, and to their surprise, someone answered. Police quickly traced the call and located the man who had the phone. His name was Azizan Ismail, a driver. During questioning, he told the police that early in the morning, while driving to work near the industrial zone, he saw a car parked by the side of the road. By chance, the seat in his own vehicle had broken, so he got out to look for a piece of wood to support it. By chance, he saw a naked woman in the back seat of the car and a man sitting in the driver's seat. At the time, he thought it was just a couple being intimate, so he didn't think much of it. A little while later, the car drove away. After finishing some errands and heading back home, he saw the same car parked in the same spot as before. Curious to see if there was anything interesting going on, he decided to get out of his vehicle and approach the car. But when he looked inside, he didn't see anyone, just a woman's handbag and cell phone on the back seat. Seeing no one around, he gave in to temptation, reached through the window, grabbed the bag and phone, and left. After several rounds of investigation, the police determined that he had no connection to Wong Kuan. His appearance also didn't match the man seen in the security footage. In fact, he gave a clear description of the man he saw in the driver's seat that night, which closely matched the figure recorded by the camera. He even used Kuan's phone, which raised suspicions, but it didn't make sense for someone to incriminate himself like that. After reviewing all the facts, the police ruled him out as a suspect and treated him as a witness instead. On June 17th, 4 days after Wong Kuan went missing, about 2 kilometers from where her car was found, a construction site supervisor noticed a terrible smell coming from a storm drain. Curious, he opened the lid and was horrified to find a burned body inside. He immediately called the police. Officers quickly arrived at the scene and found a body that had been set on fire, along with 2 car tires placed in the drain. The body's arms were crossed over the chest, and most of it had been burned to charcoal. A forensic examination revealed that the victim had been stabbed twice in the abdomen and that the fire was meant to destroy evidence. The victim had also been violently raped multiple times before death, causing severe injuries to her private area. The forensic team successfully extracted DNA from the semen in her body. To confirm the victim's identity, police brought her best friend Natasha and her younger sister to the hospital. Upon seeing the body, her sister immediately recognized a pair of jeans that had not been completely burned. She had lent those jeans to Kuan for their dinner that night. Through DNA testing, the body was confirmed to be Wong Kuan. Later, a woman named Amina Isaac reported to police that, early on the morning of June 14th, she had encountered a strange man whose car had a flat tire. He knocked on her car window and asked to borrow tools to change it. She agreed to help. Her brother-in-law, who was also in the car, got out to assist the man. As they prepared to fix the tire, she noticed a girl sitting quietly in the rear passenger seat of the man's car. The girl had her hands together, as if pleading for help. Seeing this, Amina started walking toward the girl to check on her. The man panicked, immediately stopped changing the tire, jumped back into his car and sped off. Sensing that something was seriously wrong, she wrote down the license plate, WKFN 6871. That was the license plate on Wong Kuan's car. On the night of June 13, the night Kuan went missing, around 11:15 p.m., David Chandler, a plainclothes police officer, was patrolling with his partner. They noticed a green car parked on the side of the road. At first, they didn't think anything of it, but more than 30 minutes later, when they passed the same spot again, the car was still there. Curious, David approached the vehicle and knocked on the window. In the dim light, he saw a man in the driver's seat and a girl sitting in the passenger seat who looked uneasy. He asked them for identification. Both the man and the girl cooperated and showed their IDs. But while looking at the documents, David noticed the girl making strange gestures. She had her hands pressed together, as if silently begging for help. Sensing that something was wrong, the officer immediately asked the girl to step out of the car for questioning. As she was about to open the door, the man suddenly became aggressive and shouted at the police, saying, "You're not real cops, you're robbers." After yelling, he rolled up the window and drove off. The officers drew their pistols and fired 2 shots at the car. One bullet hit a tire, but the vehicle still managed to speed off into the night. Because the incident happened so quickly, the officers didn't manage to record the license plate. Luckily, however, they were still holding on to 2 ID cards from the people in the car. At the time, news of Wong Kuan's abduction hadn't spread, so they didn't realize the importance of those IDs. They submitted them to their superiors, but no one paid much attention. Once the case made headlines, they checked the IDs again. One was for a man named Ahmed Najib bin Adib, and the other belonged to Wong Kuan. The police immediately launched a search for the man. When they checked the address on his ID, they found it was fake, and the ID itself was counterfeit. This made the investigation more difficult. The only clue they had was his name. No other information was available. Eventually, they managed to trace his identity through marriage and social security record. They learned that he was 27 years old and working as a manager at an aircraft cleaning company. They also found information about his wife and home address. To avoid alerting him, police set up a surveillance operation near his apartment. After 3 days of watching, they hadn't seen him. Only his wife was seen going in and out. Finally, at 4 a.m. on June 20th, officers spotted him getting out of a taxi and walking home. They quickly moved in and arrested him. At first, police assumed he had to be a cruel and violent man to commit such a brutal crime. But surprisingly, when he was arrested, he didn't resist. He remained calm and even smiled slightly. He didn't look like a murderer at all. Upon investigation, police learned that Najib was a devout Christian with no prior criminal record. He had a happy family life. He was a manager at an airplane cleaning company, and his wife was a senior employee at a bank. They had a 3-year-old child, and his wife was also 3 months pregnant at the time. Given that he came from a loving family, it was hard to understand why he would commit such a crime. Police obtained a search warrant for his home and found a green jacket and blue jeans stained with blood. With that, the semen DNA and testimony from Officer Ravi, he confessed everything. He even took the police back to the underground parking lot at the shopping mall and gave a detailed account of what had happened. He said that on the night of June 13th, he saw Wong Kuan, beautiful and attractive, walking by. Lust took over, and he followed her and her mother on a motorcycle. At the parking garage, he saw another person in her car, so he waited. He parked his bike outside and went into the lot on foot, waiting for a chance. After hours of waiting, he was thrilled to see Wong Kuan walking alone to the car. As she leaned into the front seat, apparently looking for something, he rushed in and held her at knife point. Afraid of being caught, he sped away, crashing through the parking barrier. He admitted that he raped her twice. In the end, because she kept resisting, he stabbed her in the abdomen. Seeing her dying, he panicked. He tied her up with a strip of cloth and decided to dump her body in an uncovered roadside drain. He also threw in 2 tires filled with cement and covered the opening with wooden boards before fleeing the scene. The next day, he returned with gasoline and a lighter to burn her body. Logically, since he had confessed, the case should have been closed. But things got more complicated. After his confession, Najib's family hired a famous lawyer named Muhammad Hanif to defend him. In court, Najib denied everything he had previously confessed, saying his statements were made under pressure. He claimed the police had threatened to arrest his wife, child, and parents if he didn't confess. It was a shocking situation that no one could have imagined. Still, even though he denied everything, the bloodstains on his clothes and the DNA were hard to dispute. But his lawyer argued otherwise, saying the evidence was circumstantial. No one actually saw Najib commit the murder. The lawyer pointed out contradictions in the initial investigation, such as 1. The surveillance footage from the parking garage was blurry. It wasn't clear that the man in the video was Najib. 2. Even if it was him, that didn't prove he kidnapped Wong Kuan. She could have gone with him willingly. 3. Wong Kuan was a black belt in Taekwondo, while Najib was an ordinary man. It didn't make sense that someone so skilled could be overpowered. 4. There were 2 missed chances to escape. Once when they were stopped by police, and once when Najib asked to borrow a tire tool. Why didn't she run? 5. Police found jeans with bloodstains in Najib's house, but since they didn't measure them, they couldn't confirm they belonged to him. 6. While there was clear evidence of sexual assault, Najib claimed it was consensual. He argued that Wong Kuan died accidentally during mutual passion. These arguments stirred public debate. While most people believed the lawyer was just trying to protect a criminal, some began to wonder, could Najib really be innocent? Criminal psychologists later explained the doubts raised. They said Taekwondo is a sport, not necessarily for self-defense. There are large physical differences between men and women. At the time, Wong Kuan was bending over inside her car, and Najib was armed. Even as a black belt, she couldn't have done much in that situation. Women often freeze in fear when threatened, making it hard to escape or fight back. Aside from the DNA, there were also multiple witnesses. While none saw him commit the murder, they all saw him with her from beginning to end, which was difficult to deny. On February 23, 2005, after 52 days of trial, the judge, based on physical evidence and testimony from over 10 witnesses, declared Najib guilty of murder and sexual assault. He was sentenced to death for murder and 25 years in prison for sexual assault. In court, he said he accepted the verdict but would appeal. In 2007, his appeal was denied. In 2009, he begged for mercy, asking to reduce his sentence from death to life imprisonment, but the request was rejected. On September 23, 2016, Najib took his own life in prison. After the incident, several changes were made to prevent similar tragedies, such as creating female-only parking zones in shopping malls, installing more surveillance, and adding emergency call buttons in buildings. However, such measures can only reduce crime, not eliminate it. Regardless of gender, we must always stay alert and be careful when out in public. That's the end of today's story. See you next time.